Hi, this is Cynthia McMullen with Alaska Institute of Oriental Medicine, Acupuncture, and Massage Therapy. And I am here today with Tao Shu Pei Wo Lun, also known as Shifu, and we're going to talk about Taoist strange phenomena. So I had somebody who came up to me last week and asked an interesting question, and I've heard this question come up numerous times and from different angles, and they wanted to know, what is it about the powers that you can get from doing QiGong or doing Tai Chi? Things like psychic abilities that you hear about. Do you ever get asked that question?
Yes, and it's a big question. It's a question that entails the consciousness of the universe and the human consciousness being one with the consciousness of the universe. So the ancient teachings say that any power that you can consciously conceive of is attainable. So in a work like Autobiography of a Yogi, the attainment of powers is very broad and vast, and there's all different types of powers that you can acquire.
I think, look at the movies we have out right now with all the superheroes. There's kind of a super interest in powers.
The superhero movies are surreal and dramatic. So they give us human desires and human abilities condensed and sped up in a manner that we find entertaining. But because they're surreal, are they not real? Well, it's usually a matter of degree as opposed to a matter of kind.
So let's say somebody says, I want to become more psychic, so I'm going to start doing QiGong.
Well, yeah, it's too broad a desire. What does being psychic mean to them? What does that mean? Psychic abilities, there's many psychic abilities. So what psychic ability are they interested in? What are they looking at achieving, and why? Well, why isn't all that important? But what are they interested in? All of our natural senses are open to being enhanced to a superlative level, far beyond anything we can imagine until we have experienced it.
So do you think it would make a difference or not make a difference if somebody said, I want to have psychic powers, I want to be able to know things, and their motive was either one of it's going to benefit mankind versus just benefiting themselves?
And what's the question in there?
Does motive make a difference?
Some people say yes, some people say no. Motive, the appropriate motive usually gives people the incentive, the drive, the power to continue on in their pursuits. There's also the acquiring of powers by wanting nothing special. Just wanting whatever the universe has for you, or wanting what is just naturally inclined to your nature.
Or what about not wanting at all and just allowing, or just even experiencing and not even trying?
That's a way of saying what I was alluding to.
Yeah. So I had an experience in China a number of years ago, quite a few years ago.
Where was this at?
It was in Wudong.
Okay.
And the group that I was with had somebody in the group got really sick. Mm-hmm. We're in the jungle, mm-hmm. in the middle of nowhere, this mm-hmm. little Taoist monastery. Mm-hmm. And the person fainted. All of the Taoist monks came running mm-hmm. and gave the person, they asked me, can they do acupuncture? And they had this one needle that looked like it was about 400 years old. It was the needle. And I said, yes, go ahead, do whatever you need to do. They did acupuncture, and I watched all the points that they were using. And then they brought in a little vial of purple liquid, which was herbs, and asked again, can they give this to the person? And I said, yes. And they gave it to them. And the person sat up in a few seconds and was fine. And then they were telling me what to do, how to keep treating them, what to watch for. And I was conversing back and forth. Mm-hmm. However, they spoke no English, and I spoke no Chinese. Mm-hmm. That entire conversation was in Chinese, and I understood it, and I spoke it, and didn't even realize it until after the fact. It was like in the need of the moment, it happened.
The universal language is emotion. So our emotional mood, our emotional sounds, our sighs, our laughs, our dreads, and our concerns are universal to people. So when you get into a contextual situation and you have some type of emotional concern, then what's communicated is going to be common across culture. Well, of course this is what they said. Well, of course this is what I mean. Of course, and there's this emotional stream that passes between you and the others when communication is necessary.
So are there interesting things that you've experienced over your many years of doing all of the Tai Chi and QiGong meditations?
The subjective experience of peace and calm in a tumultuous world. I like to consider that as something.
Now, what about things like just going to a restaurant, the waiter drops something, and you catch it really fast?
And then they applaud you. Yeah. I was in a Chinese class, and the student to my right, their books were falling off the desk. And so as the books fell, I reached and caught them. And the two people in the class were Chinese, and they said, good kung fu, good kung fu, good kung fu. I had to laugh because they knew what it was. That was good, good reaction, good nuanced movement, good eye, good.
Yeah, it's following the energy flow.
Right.
And that does become very natural after a while.
Yes, it's part of your natural experience. So you don't really consider it. When something becomes natural and normal to you, it's not a superpower. It's just an isness.
I think that playing around in the world of energy, when you're doing that with QiGong, when you're doing it with external, like the medical QiGong energy healing, there's something about you becoming or using more than your physical body. You start to use the energetic senses, and it opens up to a lot more. But I don't know if it's trying to do that as much as allowing it.
Well, looking at that as a power, we're back to the collective consciousness, and you have your subjective experience and your subjective wants, and you want them to manifest in some type of objective way. And in those cases, we have to be careful with regards to what is an actual manifestation and what is, at this point, still wishful thinking. Because we wish something to be so does not necessarily make it so. But because we wish it to be so, it does exist in a particular dimension of our consciousness. So in that dimension, it is an isness. Now we have to move the isness of that dimension into what we would call our normal dimensional space and time. And this is where the practices come in, because in moving things from the subjective dimension of your wishes, wants, and desires into the contemporary dimension of concrete action, concrete knowledge, concrete concrete existence is what we call focus and concentration. Now, focus and concentration are abstract in and of themselves, but they mean something to the human consciousness. And focus and concentration builds up a energy vortex or energy matrix. Now, let's use vortex. Builds up an energy vortex that connects one dimension with another dimension. And so you can move things from the subjective dimension to the objective dimension to the objective dimension using focus and concentration. Motives aren't important.
What about emotion?
Emotions aren't important.
And how the focus and concentration, what exactly would you do? Is that a meditation?
That's an intending. Or what you said earlier is an allowing.
And that sounds a lot like what the law of attraction everybody talks about.
Well, yes, the law of attraction is based on these universal principles that have been known, we can go back 50,000 years. It's how man creates, for those who haven't forgotten how to do that. So you bring something out of a dimensional space that is totally subjective to you. It only exists in your reality, and you move it into contemporary reality to where it has concrete shape and form and effect, and you use focus and concentration to do it. Notice I didn't say anything about time, because time doesn't exist in those dimensional spaces, because time is a convenience that we use in this concrete reality. It's not, time isn't real. Time is a function of space, so we use space to measure time. But if we didn't have time, we would still have space. And how to think about, negotiate, and talk about space is where time comes from. So time isn't real. Time is just a convenience of the mind. So in moving things from subjective reality to objective reality, time doesn't exist in that process. So relative to what we call time, it can happen in an instant, or it can happen in 20 years, or it could have happened 20 years ago and catch up with us now.
From the movie Arrival.
I saw it, but remind me of the...
There was the aliens that came, and we had to learn how to communicate with them.
And they spoke in that circular language, yeah.
Yes, circular language. What do you think about our language and how we have a language that's based in time, and if we started to expand our language, would that change our experience? I think it would have to change our consciousness in a certain way to even speak like that.
Okay, let me understand what you're asking there.
Can we change our experience of time by changing our language and changing our consciousness about thinking about time?
Time isn't real. Time only exists as a subjective experience. So, changing our language with regards to time will change our subjective experience of time. But it won't change time itself, because time doesn't exist.
That'd be interesting, though, to see what we could do with that and see how we could change our subjective experience of time.
Oh, please. People do that all the time. It's called taking drugs. Getting drunk and getting high. Mind bending. They do it all the time. Let's jump out of an airplane.
Okay, so those distort our experience of time. Since seeing that movie several years ago, I've noticed several times when I would say that I could recognize nonlinear time. And for example, there's a workshop I wanted to teach, and I looked at my time, and I said, oh, I really don't have enough time to put the information together that I want. And I opened up a file cabinet, and I was looking through some files, and I found some notes that I had done 5 years ago that were exactly what I needed for the workshop that I didn't have time to put together now. So I pulled it out, and then I said, oh, wow, thank you, me, for doing this 5 years ago, and now finding it at the exact moment I need it. And 5 years ago, I did nothing with the information. I did it, and I said, I don't feel like doing anything with this right now, and I stuck it in the drawer.
Mm-hmm.
So how much do we do that and not even notice?
How much do we do that? Well, that all depends on how much you allow yourself free and easy wandering moments. If you're a meanderer, you'll probably do that quite often. But because meanderers, they do things for no particular reason at all. And they're in places and doing things for no particular reason at all. Why are you here? Well, because I'm here. Why aren't you somewhere else? Because I'm not. It's just, and there's no real purpose for being here. It's just the being itself. Being enough. That's what time distorts for us. It distorts the idea that being is not enough, when being is enough. In the mystic community, they like to criticize the comment or the quote, I think, therefore I am, and like to take note that I am, therefore I think. Thinking does not precede being, whereas the Western Cartesian mind puts a thought as preeminent. Thought is preeminent. I think, therefore I am. So it's like the author of that thought was looking backwards, right? You know, they were not looking at things linearly.
Yeah, who is it that's thinking?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the Tai Chi and QiGong, the meditation, really slows you down and starts to get you in touch with things that are very natural to us.
Yes, like the now. Here, now. I am. Very natural. We tend to miss it.
And then noticing and perceiving when things are more quiet. We have the ability, but there's too much noise going on around us all the time, so we don't notice a number of things, or we're not taught.
Well, there's too much relevance on our own thoughts. We think that our thoughts are premier and important, when thoughts is just what the mind does. You know, thoughts are an isness of the mind. We don't have to cater to our thoughts. It's just like you have an arm. Your arm is an isness to your body. You really don't have to cater to your arm. It's just there, right? Same thing with thoughts. So we'll have thoughts, and we'll think they're so important because they're our thoughts. It's sort of like kids who play in their own poo, right? Dogs who eat their own poo, right? So we become fascinated with our thoughts when they're just poo.
Nice way of thinking of that. So I can think of one other experience that I had, again, many years ago, and we were working on the long form, the 108 movement, Yang style Tai Chi, and you had us doing it normal, and then we had to teach ourselves the left side. Mm-hmm. And at the time that I became fluent in doing it, both directions, I would go out on my roof and do it one direction and then the other. Mm-hmm. After that one day, I was compelled, I knew that I could write with my left hand, mm-hmm. and I'm right-handed. Mm-hmm. And I went inside and I wrote backwards with my left hand, mm-hmm. just like doing the long form left side. Mm-hmm. It had the same feel to it, and I've been able to do that ever since. Mm-hmm. But I can only write backwards in it. I can't write forwards. If I do, it looks like kindergarten writing.
That's very Da Vinci of you.
And I didn't try to do that.
Write backwards?
Yeah. I didn't go out and say, oh, let me try and do this. But yet there was something that knew I could in that moment. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a question in it. It's more
part of the fun of life is identifying those moments. That's the fun. You experience something, you say, oh, I can do that. And then you just do it. And the I can do that, when it's something that you've never done before, that's so much fun. That is fun. No, I'm waxing way nostalgically. Go ahead.
Okay. What about some of the Taoist magic or things on that line? Do you delve into that area at all, or astral projection, out-of-body experiences?
So, I said thoughts aren't that precious, but the body is. The body is really, really, really precious. You only have one body. Thoughts, they come and go. You have thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts, right? But you only have one body. And your body is a vessel. Vessels are designed to carry things. So your body as a vessel carries whatever you put into it. Speaking from a psychic point of view, it's not a good idea to depossess your body. If you depossess your body, strange, vagrant, conscious complexes start to possess your body.
Because it's there and it's available, you're not in it?
Bodies are how spirit expresses itself into the world. Spirits express themselves into the world through some type of physical, concrete body. The most articulate body of expression is the human body. So the human body basically is very desirable to disembodied spirits. Right? All they have to do is see a human body not possessed or depossessed. There's one, I'm going for it. and your body winds up acquiring all these different spirits and moods and modes and attitudes that are not you. Interestingly enough, they're not you. Because no two things can exist in the same place at the same time, being space and time. If you possessed your body, nothing else can possess it. If you don't possess your body, you're leaving room for encroachment by other entities and other spirits that would want to possess your body and use it to express themselves in concrete reality. So, with regards to astral traveling outside of the body and disembodied experiences, those are the considerations and the concerns. You know, it's easy for, what do we call it, the prodigal son. The prodigal son was the one who left home and went out partying and didn't make much of himself. And then he came back home after not making much of himself, and after a very tumultuous experience, he came home and he was accepted at home. But home was different. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as if he had continued to possess his space and time at home rather than abdicating his space and time. So when you abdicate the responsibility of a body, when you depossess your body, that's a really big deal, because basically it's one body for one person, one body for one spirit, one body for one soul. And your body is how you manifest yourself into the universe. Very important state. So I don't do much astral projection. I don't do much channeling of energies, conscious spirits through the body and things like that because of that. Not because it isn't possible, it isn't cool, it isn't fun, but because it's very, very dangerous to the body mind. Very dangerous.
So what happens if, for people who do that, they do practice trying to astral project and things like that, have the out-of-body experiences, and can you come back and say, hey, that's my body, get out? Do you have that right?
That's dependent. Not if you abandon the body. You abandon the body, you don't want the body, you give it up, you allow other entities to possess it, to ravage it, to have their way with it, and then you're going to come back and say that that's mine. Hey, good luck with that. Good luck with that. There's some ancient statues from Egypt that are housed in the British Museum, and they were absconded from Egypt right around the time of the Ottoman Empire, and now Egypt wants them back. And Britain says, well, you know, the ruler at the time gave it to our emissary at the time, and so they're ours. This is a long time ago. But Egypt wants to repossess, okay, their statues. And Britain is saying, well, you know, there's way too much water going under that bridge. No, we're not going to give it back to you. And so now you have this consternation between these people over concrete stuff, right? That was dispossessed, repossessed, and this is going on for hundreds of years now. Now, I'm bringing this up because this is happening on a concrete, real-world level. It's the same type of a process. It's the same parallel process that happens on the spiritual and energetic level. So you can't really say, oh, no, I really don't want this. Oh, wait, I changed my mind. Yeah, right? Then you become a spiritual, you become spiritually wishy-washy. Right? No integrity, no substance, no cohesiveness, no continuity. Okay, so where are we at?
Well, since the body is so important, the body's precious, there's a lot that goes on in the practices that puts us more in touch with our body, enhances our healing abilities, our natural healing abilities. I think that may be one of the main reasons that a lot of people get into the doing Tai Chi and Qigong is because they have health issues or they're concerned about health issues. And that's an area that is pretty concrete, where you can start doing the practices and become much more aware of the preferences or the things that are beneficial to you, are not, and also intend for your body to heal in different ways. So how does that work?
So again, the body is a precious and wonderful thing. The body self-heals. The body self-heals according to its universal understanding. In one sense, healing is a skill that you grow into, that you evolve into. So you evolve into higher and higher levels of healing, higher and higher levels of wholeness. I say evolve just as a growth function in the ever-expanding universe. In the ever-expanding universe, your consciousness expands. So you have more consciousness today than you had yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow. So there's this healing into wholeness that happens with the human body. And interestingly enough, healing into wholeness has very little to do with life and death. It has to do with wholeness. In a whole life, in a whole existence, there had to have been a birth and there will be a death. So life and death is just part of the wholeness. So healing has nothing to do with life and death. It has to do with the human consciousness growing into wholeness. Did I address what you were asking? We'll leave it for the audience to decide.
Yes. So I think what I was getting at there is you start to do Qigong and you start to feel really good. And it's different from going and taking medications and things like that to try and heal whatever issues people have going on. It wakes up something inside.
It wakes up the rhythm of life. When you learn Tai Chi and Qigong, you're learning the rhythm of the Tao, the rhythm of life. And the rhythm of life is based on one inhale and one exhale. So you learn the rhythm of life, you learn to be with the rhythm of life, you learn that the rhythm of life is everything. And so the Tai Chi and the Qigong harmonizes you with the rhythm of life, as opposed to the rhythms that we can acquire through thinking and emoting. Our thoughts and our emotions are vibrations which are going to introduce various rhythms to our consciousness. And these rhythms can and cannot be in harmony with the rhythm of the Tao, the rhythm of life. So the Qigong, the Tai Chi puts you into the rhythm of life, because in the Qigong and the Tai Chi, you do as you breathe. You do as you live and breathe. As you live and breathe, this is what you do. As you live and breathe, this is what you do. As you breathe, this is what you do. As you breathe, this is what you do. As you breathe, this is what you do. So the breathing that is emphasized in QiGong and Tai Chi reintroduces you to the rhythm of life. You were first introduced to the rhythm of life when you were born, right? Because when you were born, it was dependent upon you to inhale. Now we're living, right? Now we're living on our own, right? Now we are an entity. We are a being, right? Making our space, making our place in space and time. And that's all. That's the most important part. Everything after that is just window dressing.
So I'm going to take it back around to the original question that somebody asked me. What is it with doing Qigong, and how do you get powers from it?
Well,
and I'm kind of getting from the conversation so far that first we perceive it. If we can perceive what it is, that it is available out there, and then there's an allowing to it and a becoming more of yourself, or becoming more in tune with the rhythm of life, and it's all right there. Is that a good direction?
Yes.
So perceive it, breathe it, let it happen, and don't worry about time.
Does that sum up our conversation here? Yes, it does, doesn't it? See? Nothing to it.
There you go. All right. Well, perceive it, breathe it, allow it to happen. Don't worry about time. So until next time, if there is time, or until the illusion of next time, then thank you.
Thank you.